Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're jumping into a really foundational story, right?
That's right, the biblical account of Noah's flood, specifically as laid out in the Delusion Ark of Noah.
Exactly. We're using the text itself as, our main source here.
And mission?
Well, the mission is to really get a handle on the core story, the key events of this unique event described.
Unique is definitely the word. A global catastrophe, yeah. Intended to wipe out, well, almost all life.
Except for Noah and his family, yeah. Quite a premise.
It really is. Understanding the specifics from the text is crucial.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Noah's selection. Why him? What made him stand out?
Well, the text points to Noah being uniquely righteous, the only righteous person in his generation, it says.
The only one. Wow.
That distinction is basically the whole reason he's chosen, to survive, repopulate the earth.
It paints a pretty stark picture of the rest of the world at that time, doesn't it?
It does. A world so corrupt, apparently, that just one person found divine favor.
Right. Okay, so he's chosen. Then comes this monumental task, building the ark.
Oh, yeah. And the instructions are incredibly detailed.
Like dimensions and materials.
Yes, specific dimensions, but maybe even more interesting are the instructions for the animals. There's a clear distinction made.
A distinction. How so?
Well, Noah's told to bring 7 pairs of all the clean animals, likely those approved for eating or sacrifice later on.
7 pairs.
Okay.
And the others.
Just 1 pair, male and female, of all the other creatures, the unclean ones.
Huh. So different numbers.
Exactly. And then specifically 7 pairs of every kind of bird, also male and female. The goal seems very clearly about reproduction, preserving life.
So it wasn't just random survival. It was a curated selection for the future.
Yeah.
That level of detail really suggests a specific plan.
Definitely. It's about ensuring the continuation of these different life forms after the flood.
Okay, let's talk timeline. This wasn't like an overnight thing, was it? There was a warning.
The narrative says God gave Noah a 7-day warning before the flood actually began.
7 days. And during that time?
During that time, the text emphasizes Noah's obedience. He did everything he was commanded. It also mentions Noah's age.
Oh, yeah. How old?
600 years old when the floodwaters started. It's quite an image, a 600-year-old man building this colossal boat.
It really is. Okay, so the 7 days pass. How did the flood itself start? What does the text say?
It describes a pretty dramatic dual origin, not just rain.
Not just rain.
No, it talks about the fountains of the great deep bursting forth like underground waters erupting and torrential rain from the windows of heaven.
Wow. Both from below and above.
Exactly. And this started very precisely on the 17th day of the 2nd month.
Okay. And the rain part.
Ah.
How long did that last?
40 days and 40 nights. That specific duration, 40 days, comes up a lot.
40 days of constant torrential rain. Plus the underground water, that's intense. But the flooding, the scale of it, was even bigger.
Oh, absolutely. The text describes the waters rising until they covered the entire earth.
The entire earth.
That's what it says. Even covering the highest mountains. It gives a specific measure, too, rising more than 22 feet or 15 cubits above the peaks.
Above the highest peak, so no escape possible.
Precisely. That detail really emphasizes the totality of the inundation. If you weren't on the ark, there was nowhere to go.
And the consequence of that level of flooding was, well, absolute, according to the source.
Yes, the narrative is stark. All living things on dry land that had the breath of life in their nostrils, it says, died.
Everything. People, animals.
People, domestic animals, wild animals, things that crawl, birds, everything on dry land. Survival was limited solely to Noah, his family, and the creatures with him inside the ark.
The scale of destruction is just...
Cold.
It's presented as a complete wiping clean.
A reset, like you said.
And how long did this watery world last? Did the waters recede quickly after the rain stopped?
No, not quickly. The text states the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days.
150, so 5 months.
5 months of the earth being submerged after the initial 40 days of rain. It emphasizes the sustained nature of this event. Imagine the isolation inside the ark.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, so let's recap the key points here. We've got Noah chosen for his righteousness.
Right, the only one. Then these incredibly specific instructions for the ark, especially the animals, aimed at future repopulation.
Then a clear timeline. The warning, Noah's obedience, the start date, the dual sources of the floodwaters.
The 40 days of rain leading to the waters covering the entire planet, even the mountains.
And the result, complete destruction of all other air-breathing land life.
With the waters prevailing for a full 150 days, the finality is striking.
It really is. The text presents this incredibly powerful story of judgment, yes, but also preservation and a new beginning through this one chosen family and the life saved with them.
Exactly. It's a narrative that packs a punch, describing an event of unimaginable scale.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the deluge and Ark of Noah. Thinking about this detailed account, the divine command, the specifics of the Ark, the sheer scale, the duration, the finality, what aspect of this cataclysmic event described in the text leaves you, our listener, with the biggest questions, or maybe just a sense of wonder? It's certainly a story that sticks with you.